We spend so much time in our lives trying to figure out what we want out of life. Did you know that the trick to figuring out what you want out of life for many people is just to find out what you don't want out of life? See, when you get to a point when you're very clear about what you don't want, then it becomes a lot easier to start designing the life that you do want. And so I've never been able to accomplish any true level of success in any area of my life, whether that be my marriage, my friendships, my relationships, business relationships, without having discipline. And discipline is figuring out what you need to say no to so that then you can figure out what you want to say yes to. And for many people, they're trying to go out and build a new life on an old foundation. And part of resetting that old foundation is to actually start clearing out the stuff that don't make sense for where it is that you want to go. And I think about, there was a point in time in my life, right? I was a young dad. I was probably 18, 19 at this time. And man, life was crazy. It was also much more simple back then too, looking back on it, but whatever. And I remember I was in between jobs because I was just trying to have a steady job so my daughter and my wife could have. Actually, I take that back. So my wife was pregnant at this time, okay? And for those of y'all that don't know, we had our daughter, I was 18, okay? So we weren't married at the time, but y'all get it. So she was pregnant. And so I was trying to figure out a place of employment. I had left college. I was trying to figure out how could I get a decent job to where I could have benefits. So by the time that she had the baby, we had insurance, all the rest of it. And so in the process of figuring that out, well, I had to go on some jobs that I didn't like so much. And one of which, and this is my sister, if she heard this video, she would have my neck, okay? So, sis, if you see this, forgive me, okay? But she worked for this, at the time, she was like an accountant for this staffing company. And so she got me this job as a janitor at the airport, okay, in Detroit. And, out of respect for her, I had to take it, right? So I go out there. I don't know that I was clear on the fact that I was going to be a janitor, okay? I knew that it was like some type of maintenance of some degree at the airport. But long story short, I get out there and it's an hour into the day. And all it took for me, by the time they showed me what to do, all it took for me was to walk into the bathroom at the airport. And I was like, you got the right game, just the wrong guy, right? And so respectfully, I went and found my supervisor and I was like, you know what? I appreciate this opportunity, but I'm gonna have to get out of here, right? And this is the part where my sister gonna get me. I called my sister. I felt so bad. I called my sister and I lied, y'all. I told her, I said, all these chemicals in here, affecting my bronchitis. I just can't work in this place, right? I know it's crazy. It's crazy. But my point is, in that moment, I was clear about what I was not going to do in life. And I was so adamant about what I was not going to do in life that I found my supervisor and told them, right game, wrong guy. How many of you are doing something that you hate to do? How many of you are doing something that you despise doing in life? Whether that be relationships that you're entertaining, whether that be the job that you go on every day, whether that be what you don't like when you look in the mirror, don't like what you see when you look in the mirror, whether it's you don't like the mirrors that you have at home. And I'm not telling nobody to go get divorced. What I am saying, though, is that anything that you identify in your life that is not good for you or that you despise doing, instead of looking for a cool place in hell, just get out of hell. Do the things that you need to do to get out of hell. And just like me walking away from that job that I knew was not a good fit for my personality type, my skill set, and my preference, right? Yes, there are times where we got to do things that we don't prefer to do. And when I left that job that day, I went back to that apartment and I sat there and I started looking for other jobs. So it wasn't like I just was going to settle at the fact that I wasn't going to have a job, but I knew that I wasn't doing that job. There was no way I was getting up every day doing that, right? And shout out to all my people in the service industry, food service industry. I've never worked fast food. I've never waited tables, right? Why? Because again, that just is not, there's certain things on my list that I say I would never do, right? And I know you can never say never, but I ain't never done them. And I said I was never doing them. And so the reality is when you get that convicted about what you don't want, then you can start focusing on, okay, well, if I'm not doing this, then what am I willing to do? And start putting more energy and effort into the things that you are willing to do and want to do and desire to do instead of those that you hate doing. And I just thought that this conversation was so important today because how many of you are out there in that very position right now? How many of you are going through life in the gray, as I would say? What do I mean? Going through life in the gray, meaning that you lukewarm, right? In the book of James, scripture tells us that God spits out lukewarm believers. God don't even like us in the middle. So why do we live our lives in the middle? And I know everything isn't black and white, but a lot of stuff is, because the root word of decide is to cut something off. Cut something off. But yet we leave ourselves options and everything. And unless or until we get convicted to a point where we start to cut off those things that don't serve us and only do the things that do, then our life is also going to look gray, very average, in the middle. And so for my people that want to have quantum leaps, I want you to do an audit, take an inventory over where you sit right now in your life. Look at all those things that you found a proverbial cool place in hell to just go along and get along, to anesthetize what you truly want on a day in and day out basis, just for the sake of being able to endure what it is that you got to do every day. You got to get to a point where you stop having to do stuff and you get to do stuff. That's when everything changed for you in your life. And so I hope this message was encouraging. I thought about this as I was driving in the car the other day about how I quit that job after an hour of being there because I clearly identified that it wasn't something that I should be doing. And so I look at everything else in my life from, going to work in corporate America, did that for 10, 12 years after college, quit at 35, became a multimillionaire in the process. And there's constant iterations. Now there's certain things about what I do today that I don't particularly care for. So I'm changing those things as well, right? Because in every season, see, the more skill that you acquire for yourself, the more options and opportunities then you have for yourself. So what happens is as your skill set continues to evolve and increase, then you're opening up more opportunities for yourself. Okay. And by virtue of that, you can start to look at, okay, I spend this amount of time doing this thing and it gives me this outcome. I could spend this amount of time doing this thing and it would give me this outcome. So now I have the autonomy, I have the latitude to iterate my life constantly because I'm constantly evolving my skill. So what happens is when you get stuck in life, it's because your skill set is not evolving at a rate that will allow you more options. So you get stuck and pigeonholed doing stuff that you don't desire to do, but you've only gotten good enough at life to do that thing. So what's the moral of the story, y'all? Go get better. Go get better so that you can do better, have more, be better. Because many people are living a life where they go to work to live. I want y'all to think about what I just said. Many people are living a life where they go to work to live. But far more people are living a life where they're living to go to work. You don't have to get up every day and go to work to live. You don't have to get up every day and all you think about is, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. I got to go to work. I got to go to work, right? The bulk of your week is consumed by work. You have very little time to actually enjoy this thing called life. And so when you get to a point where you stop living to work and that you're working to live, everything changes in your life. That's the part and that's the point where you stop feeling as if you gotta do things. Instead, you get to do them. If this video helped you, please share this with somebody that you love. Excuse me. Please share this with somebody that you love. And turn your notifications on. I'm about to get back in it. I've been very, 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 very busy with my schedule and doing a lot of other things, but I've been feeling a burden to get back to making these videos for you guys. And so turn your notifications on. Let me know in the comments if this helped you, and I will see you guys in the next one.